I'm here in Karnak Temple in Luxor, Egypt, and I want to talk about this video that I watched this brother do out of, it sounds like he's down south somewhere, you know, and I'm going to run the clip, and then after I run the clip, I'm going to come back and hit on a few points that he talked about. Take a look at this.
I don't say African Americans. Please understand something. I don't condemn Africans, I don't criticize Africans, but I don't know anything about Africa. I've never been to Africa. I don't know the streets. I don't have any cousins. I don't know any friends. I know nothing about Africa. I was born, bred, raised right here in America. I am 100% American, and I am nothing else. I'm okay with that. You don't need to call me an African American. I don't need the prefix put on the front of who I am, because now you're trying to take away from my Americanism. So that's how I am. You may be different, that's fine. You want to chase your heritage in Africa, that's fine. I chase mine here in America because I see America from a different perspective now. I understand the importance of America and how great America is. That's why people are running here.
All right, I want to address one of the first statements. So one of the statements that he made was he talked about why are so many people running to America? And the reality is people are running to America, one, because they're trying to get back the stolen resources that America has taken from many of these countries. So yeah, they run to go back to where the resources are. Now, some people have been indoctrinated with this affection and this love for this country, and then you have Neil Diamond singing the song, "They coming to America, boom, boom, boom. They coming to America today, today." So you get enough of that going on, and so people will use that as an argument. Why they're coming so great? What makes it so great? Now, I'm not talking about the individual people. I'm talking about the system, and that's the thing. When you understand the system of it, you understand that many parts of that system is not so great. Let's dive into this a little bit more. All right. Now, let me first say this. Anybody can identify any way they want to identify. You can call yourself whatever. American, Black, African American, American, whatever you want to call yourself. So it's not even, this isn't really so much about that. This is really more about the perceived lack of knowledge on his part and how he may be unknowingly playing into the hand of American nationalism, American imperialism, British colonization, French colonization, Dutch colonization, Spanish colonization, because something that he said that was really telling at the beginning of it, he says, I know nothing about Africa. I've never been to Africa. So whenever I hear somebody say that, because I understand it, because I lived it for so many years of my life, I'd never been, I didn't know anything about it, didn't really have an interest in it. And so the interesting part about it is that when I finally got up the courage to go visit, I discovered that that is exactly how the plan for me to have no interest in going, for me not to identify with it, for me to not necessarily, to be indifferent towards it. So when I'm listening to him speak, I mean, clearly now I'm, some of what I'm saying may be, accurate or inaccurate. I mean, he looks like, if I just go on how he looks like he's straight up out of West Africa, probably Nigeria. A lot of Nigerian DNA flowing through things. And when you understand, and now the next thing he did, and I'm going to circle back to this, he talked about how great America is, and that's why everybody's running there. Now, again, that's how they teach us in the school books. That's what they were singing the anthems, and depending on where we were born, bred, and raised, we could potentially pick up that culture. And if you were raised in a predominantly white Southern nationalist culture, then that's how you think. You'll go around with the red, white, and blue without even understanding the mindset of the country at its inception, of those founding fathers and how they were thinking and how they were, it's basically capitalism coupled with imperialism, coupled with, the straight up ghettoism for real, if you really want to get down to it. But when we were children, we went to school and we stand up, we put our hand over our heart, and we pledge allegiance to something that we didn't even know we would pledge allegiance to. Well, what are we, we didn't even understand the history, the real history of it. And so when you step outside of that country and you look back, and with the right set of eyes, you can see more clearly what has happened and what is still happening. You can see how America, it appears as though they funded many coups and civil discord among countries and ethnic groups on the continent of Africa, exploited the resources, and all you have to do is just do a little bit of research to understand the real side of that story. But of course, that's not something that's going to be put out, and especially in certain parts of America, like down south, you'll never hear it down there because their whole thing is something completely different. It's a, and so whenever I see somebody who looks like me, who holds this strong affection for a place that still kills and destroys to this day, out abroad as well as internally, you kind of stop and say to yourself, okay, what's going on? So I'm not going to go belabor the point about all of the different systems that America influences. Now, this is no bearing on many American people. I'm an American citizen, so I can't generalize every American, but what I can do is generalize the system. And so the system is very particular about what it wants you to know, how it's going to teach you, and what it gives you access to. Censorship on so many different levels. You say the wrong thing, now you're being censored, now you're being blackballed, now you meet all of this other kind of stuff that comes along with it. So the best way, the most effective way for things to work, especially in his case, or people, people who look like me, I should say, is to get someone who shares a similar appearance to begin to regurgitate the propaganda that has been peddled for ages. And that's why I say you have all these brown bodies with white minds. And clearly, in my opinion, this brother, that's what he's got going on. Nothing wrong with being proud of being your culture, where you come from and all of that. But to not even have an interest to want to understand that it's broader, that's the beautiful part about it. This is why I say, I don't have to claim one or the other, I can claim both. I can be proudly American, I can be black, I can be African, I can be whatever, because one, I was born certain places, but then I also descend from other places. And that's what I've learned by traveling. So I would encourage brothers, say, go to Africa and go learn. I wonder, my question is, would you be hop, skipping, and jumping over to Europe? Or down to the, I don't want to say that. But would you hop, skip, and jump over to Europe if you had a chance, or London, or Paris, or whatever? I travel the whole world, and I tell people all the time, you can travel the whole world in a bubble. You can travel the whole world, and if all you around is a certain mindset of people and going places like this, I'll give you an example. If you're a missionary and all you go to do and travel the world is believe that you want to go save people, then you'll miss out on what they have to offer you. You've already adopted that mentality, which has been around for ages. And that mentality of conversion, if you will. My thing is, who are you to convert somebody? Well, I read such and such, and it says right here, and such and such and such and such and such and such. And I'm saying, well, they got something that you might want to read too. No, well, who told you that? And I always go back to it. I said, chances are, wherever you get your education from is controlled by people with a either European descent. And when those, and even if you have people who look like me or you or whoever, giving the information, where did they get their training from? And that's why education is so important. That's why coming places like this is so important, because, I stand here and right now, nobody can take what I'm seeing. This is my 5th time here. Nobody can take these experiences from me. Nobody can come to me and tell me. They can push back and say, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Now, have you been? No, I haven't been. I don't need to go. Because if I go, then I might learn something different than what I believe in my own mind. And then I might find out that I was wrong. See, a lot of people don't want to find out that they're wrong. And that's part of the whole situation. They get into it and they begin to understand all of this stuff. And so what I encourage people to do is to go see for yourself. And that's what's happening. But you got a whole group right here behind me. They're coming to see for themselves. They're coming to learn for themselves. And that's the movement that's happening. People are coming to see and learn. They're getting up out of those curriculums. They're recognizing that 9 times out of 10, the curriculum that they have been learning from. It's come from some white man somewhere in some book. This is what you need to know. And they're saying, I'm going to go take my education into my own hands because education is so broad. So my thing for that brother, hey, you know, it sounds like he has some knowledge and all of that. And that I don't share the name because I don't advertise people on my channel, especially if they're saying something that's, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, post his name and put him out there. And never, he put himself out there because he put the video out there. And so, you know, but all I'm saying is, hey, it's cool to acknowledge your heritage, all of that, but perhaps the story is a bit broader. That's all I'm saying. Maybe it's a bit broader. And if you're going to be standing there saying that something's great, then you might want to get the full story. Because when you get the full story of these countries, whether it be England, France, Portugal, Switzerland, Denmark, I'm adding Italy, you start adding them in the mix. And you start finding out a whole different deal. And you start seeing what's here in Egypt, and you see it in London, and you see it in Paris, and you come back and you say to yourself, what happened? The story is much broader than what we've been told. So hopefully this will cause somebody to go dig a little bit deeper. Hopefully that brother go dig a little bit deeper. Because I understand the frustration, I get it. I understand the frustration. Watched one of the clips where he talked about the frustration with the Democratic Party and how he switched to Republican and all that. I'm an independent, so I talk trash about both of them because both of them, two wings on the same bird. So, but we'll save that conversation for another day. So anyway, we keep dropping knowledge right here, Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron, and get on over here and see for yourself. Because once you see, now you can go back and have a whole different conversation, go educate folks like him, because you got people who think like that all over the place, and they just don't know. That's all. And the deal is not to try to convert them to come, you know, to Africa or whatever, but to at least understand that the story is much broader than that little clip that he talked about right there.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And Darren and Destiny are twin brother and sister, and you go on their adventures throughout the African diaspora, meaning so African diaspora destinations, primarily focused in Africa, but we go to South America, we're going to go to the Caribbean. Their first book is going to take you to Ghana, and then we're going to go on a safari, and from there we're going to go to Ethiopia, and then we go to Salvador, Brazil. And what the goal is to be able to inspire curiosity in the continent of Africa in our children from a very young age, and to really tell a more accurate story. Most of our children are exposed to negative images, late night infomercials about how bad things are, everybody's sick, everybody's poor, everyone's uneducated, but that's simply not true. So what Darren and Destiny and their family do is they go to different African destinations. They are learning about these different places. You're beginning to see positive images, but still telling the truth. I mean, that's the important thing, to tell the truth about some of the things that have occurred. But it's all done on our children's level so they begin to understand it. And it begins to pique their curiosity. They begin to learn more. And hopefully one day they will want to explore and visit the continent of Africa and its many countries. There's just so much that Darren and Destiny are able to do, and as they're doing it, it's like they begin to open the minds of a new generation, and they don't get bombarded and indoctrinated with negativity. They're actually able to see positivity and inspiring images and messages about the African diaspora, as well as those who are still indigenous to the continent of Africa, and they begin to learn more and just see things differently. So I'm excited about introducing the Adventures of Darren and Destiny.